Minglaba and welcome to Myanmar Radio's Myanmar Today. I am Michelle with the recent news and reports from around Myanmar. Pyothri got the latest reports on Amyotha Hluttaw's bill committee to reanalyze Health Assistance Council bill. Bomo and Minton will give us all the details on Union Minister remarks Myanmar managed to control the COVID-19 to a certain extent. Tora Sising and Yen I have the details on high schools reopened amid COVID-19 outbreak. Wilson will have the full story on why PS comes to effect from 21st July. All of these reports will be coming up on Myanmar Today, but for now, let's take a look at what's happening in local news. Union Minister for International Cooperation U Jordan received Japanese Ambassador to Myanmar Ichiro Maruyama at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Tuesday. At the meeting, the Japanese ambassador appreciates the achievement of COVID-19 prevention, control and treatment measures in Myanmar under the leadership of the state councillor. He also discussed the further assistance plans of Japan for the COVID-19 prevention, treatment, and prospects on investments of Japanese entrepreneurs in Myanmar for the economic recovery in the post-COVID-19 period. They also exchanged view on plan to hold Myanmar-Japan Investment Dialogue webinar. Officials visit between the two countries depending on the conditions of the COVID-19 containment, matters on the visit of Japanese entrepreneurs and experts who are undertaking the OGA projects in Myanmar during the COVID-19 periods in the health instructions and plan to go to Japan by on-job workers and students from Myanmar. The COVID-19 prevention practices are being conducted at number 6 Basic Education High School in Zabutiri Township in Naypyidaw. To ensure a safe environment for the students, every school across the country has been conducting social distancing, temperature screening, and COVID-19 preventive measures to the students before the school reopen. Only 20 students are allowed to sit per classroom, with social distancing practices in line with the guidelines of the Ministry of Health and Sports. The headmistress said, quote, "We have conducted social distancing, footprint signs, hand washing basins, and hand gels in front of every classroom. Also, we have put emergency contact numbers in private health care rooms in the school. As my opinion, it is good for students if the teachers, students, and parents follow the systematically instructions of MOHS and Ministry of Education." End quote. The high-level classes for 2020 to 2021 academic year started to open across the country on 21st of July. The timetable of the school is 5 class times from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., including 15 minutes break. And grade 11 student will attend daily and grade 10 student will attend 1 week apart. Union Minister for Health and Sports, Dr. Mintui, visited the COVID-19 Treatment Center, Panji, at the Central Institute of Civil Service, Lower Myanmar in Legu Township, Yangon on Monday. The Union Minister also remarked that Myanmar has controlled the pandemic to a certain extent under the leadership of the state councillor in the cooperation with the relevant ministries, respective organizations, and people. Myanmar has also no patients at the intensive care unit until now, and the high skills of the medical workers can also be realized. However, the country needs to monitor following the rules and disciplines at the border crossings and quarantine centers in prevention of second wave of this pandemic. The Union Minister added that the record books in treatments of COVID-19 would be very helpful for prevention of similar pandemic, and the recent experiences will be useful in preparing for the natural disasters. Vice President U Henry Van Dieu, in his capacity as the chairman of the National Disaster Management Committee, inspected the damages to the embankment near the Shuige wastewater treatment facility, the Strand Road and Rescue Camp in Amurabura Township, Mandalay region on Monday. The Union Minister and Deputy Chairmen of the Management Committee, the members of the committee, the Deputy Minister and officials heard reports on the situations of the damages, the flood of Eabri River water, and urgent renovation works. Vice President U Henry Van Dieu gave necessary instructions on providing assistance for the renovation works. The Vice President and the party also witnessed the damages of Shuige wastewater treatment facility, the Strand Road and Rescue Camp, where the flood victims are temporarily accommodated. During his meeting with the people, the vice president remarked that environmental degradation cannot be avoided and more challenges are expected in the following years. That's all with the local news. Now we'll move on to our first report. At the full-day meeting of its 17th regular session, Amyotha Hluttaw discussed the bill amendment to 2019 Health Assistance Council Bill. According to the discussions of Hluttaw representative, the Amyotha Hluttaw sent back the bill amendment of the Health Assistance Council to Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee.
The second Amyotha Hluttaw held the fourth-day meeting of its 17th regular session on Tuesday. At the session, Amyotha Hluttaw discussed the bill amendment to the 2019 Health Assistance Council Bill. Amyotha Hluttaw announced approvals of Hluttaw on the recommendations of Bill Committee on 2019 Medical Health Assistance Council Bill with the amendments since its 15th regular session. Pithu Hluttaw received and amended the 2019 Health Assistance Council Bill. Amyotha Hluttaw has invited the Hluttaw representatives to discuss the recommendations of Pithu Hluttaw on 2019 Medical Health Assistance Council Bill. Hluttaw Representative Usote Alliance Umangso from the Ninai Region Constituency 10 discussed the recommendations on the bill amendment of 2019 Medical Health Assistance Council Bill. He was opposed to the recommendations on the Section 14A, Section 16 in Chapter 7, and Section 21A and C in Chapter 8, and Section 34 in Chapter 13.
ကျွန်တော်ခုပြင်ဆင်ရန်ဆိုပြီးဆွေးနွေးထားတာကတော့ပြည်သူ့လွှတ်တော်ကနေအတည်ပြုချက်နဲ့ပြင်ဆင်ချက်နဲ့ပြန်လည်ပေးပို့လာတဲ့ကျန်းမာရေးမှုကောင်စီဥပဒေချက်နဲ့ဆက်လင်းပြီးတော့
In Section 14A of Chapter 7 of the 2019 Health Assistance Council Bill, Amyotha Hluttaw recommended to hold the Health Council Assistance Conference twice a year, but Pithu Hluttaw amended that the conference was to hold only once a year. I am opposed to Pithu Hluttaw's recommendation and resisted the Amyotha Hluttaw's former recommendation. According to the Section 16, the council members should also be invited to attend the conference at least 2 days ahead. In Section 21 of Chapter 8, Amyotha Hluttaw described and approved that the health assistant should be informed and applying for the registration card should be suspended if the documents are not complete yet, but they should not be rejected for that. The Section 34 of Chapter 13 is the matter of taking action. In this chapter, Amyotha Hluttaw approved that the health assistants who face the punishment has the chance of appealing in person or with a lawyer. But Pithu Hluttaw amended that the health assistants who face the punishment are not allowed for appeal. I only support the approval of the Amyotha Hluttaw and object the recommendation of Pithu Hluttaw.
Speaker of Amyotha Hluttaw U Dikhomyat decided that Amyotha Hluttaw Bill Committee reanalyze with the discussions of Hluttaw representative. According to the discussion of Hluttaw representative, the Amyotha Hluttaw sent back the bill amendment of Health Assistance Council to the Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee. The Health Assistance Council Bill includes provisions for the formation of a Health Assistance Council and the process of issuing registration to health assistants. The Health Association Council HAC will be formed by the Ministry of Health and Sports with the consent of the Union Government. The Health Assistance Council HAC will be chaired by the Director General of the Department of Public Health, comprising representatives from the Departments of Public Health, Human Resources of Health, University of Community Health, Myanmar Health Assistance Association MHAA. The council members who are not civil servants will receive salaries and benefits from the ministry. Its tenure is 5 years from the date of formation. The HAC can accept donations, materials, and other help from the domestic non-governmental organizations and donors. I am Pyothiritu. This is news reported from MI Radio.
That's the report on Amyotha Hluttaw's bill committee to reanalyze Health Assistance Council bill. Myanmar reported that the number of COVID-19 cases are up to 341, with 278 recoveries and 6 deaths. Under the leadership of State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, incorporating with the relevant ministries, respected organizations and people, Union Minister of the Ministry of Health and Sport, Dr. Myanmar Today, remarked that the Myanmar managed to control the COVID-19 to a certain extent. There were only 20 patients who are under the intensive care units in the COVID-19 medical centers, and 5 patients had to be put on the ventilators. Currently, there are no patients in the intensive care units.
Myanmar reported that the number of the COVID-19 confirmed cases are up to 341, with 280 recoveries and 6 deaths. Meanwhile, there are a total of 341 COVID-19 confirmed cases in the country, and there were only 20 patients who are under the intensive care units in the COVID-19 medical centers, and 5 patients had to use the ventilators. Currently, there are no patients at the intensive care units. COVID-19 Medical Center at Paungji provided medical treatments to 149 patients, and 132 patients had discharged, while 17 persons are still receiving the medical treatments. Dr. Tan Naingso, Director of the Health Knowledge Promotion Division from the Ministry of Health and Sports, spoke to MI Radio through the phone interview. He said,
We can't control them very strictly. We have to ask the people to follow the guidelines with their health knowledge by comparing to the other countries. The recovery cases and infected cases are in a satisfied situation. In the world, India has ranked the 3rd place in the COVID-19 infected chart. People have already started their business in the same time. They have to prevent the infections in their workplaces. We have supported all the equipments in the COVID-19 medical centers and tested all the returnees from the border gates and from the airport.
Under the leadership of the State Councillor, in cooperation with the relevant ministries, respective organizations and people, Union Minister of the Ministry of Health and Sports, Dr. Myanmar Today, remarked that Myanmar has controlled the COVID-19 to a certain extent. However, the country needs to monitor the rules and disciplines of the border crossing and quarantine center in prevention of the second wave. Hluttaw, Region Hluttaw representative from Baberan Township, spoke to MI Radio about the prevention of the COVID-19 cases in their township.
To prevent the COVID-19 in our township, COVID-19 Prevention Committee in our township carried out all the prevention. The COVID-19 Prevention Committee checked the restaurants and tea shop whether they are kept opening with the guidelines from Ministry of Health and Sports. Schools have started to reopen and we checked the schools. As we know that Baberan Township located in the downtown and has a lot of population and we have to follow the guidelines. I would like to urge the people to know that local transmission hasn't been found out for a week, but people need to be cautious about the imported cases too, as there are a lot of cases rising in the neighboring countries like India and Bangladesh.
On July 21st, high schools are decided to reopen under the categories Level A, B, and C by following the preventive measures against the COVID-19. Ko Nyingjan, a resident from Hluttaw Township, spoke to MI Radio. He said,
In our township, people didn't wear masks. When the infection started spreading in this country, all the people wear masks and they didn't even go out. But now people think that the infection is gone when the cases are lesser and lesser. Most of the people are now going back to work and have to use public transportation. But some don't wear masks and follow social distancing. I'm afraid of infections and I do follow the guidelines and urge my friends and family to follow the guidelines by looking at the infected neighbor countries like India and others.
According to the data of 19th July from the Ministry of Health and Sports, there are a total of 184 suspected and persons under investigation, 48 people under the hospital quarantine, and 22,149 people under the facility quarantine. Myanmar has tested a total of 103,888 people and 103,547 tested negative. Among the 154 returnees from abroad from 14th May to 20th July, 99 patients have recovered and 55 are undergoing medical treatments. Yangon has the highest infection case with 244, and Cayenne the second with 26, and Rakhine in the third with 15 cases. Around the world, there are 14 million people afflicted and 597,000 people are killed from the COVID-19. To prevent the second wave, the Ministry of Health and Sports urged the people to follow the guidelines, including the compulsory wearing of the face masks when going out and no gatherings of 5 persons or more.
That's a report on Union Minister remarks Myanmar managed to control COVID-19 to a certain extent. Nearly 4,000 high schools reopened in Myanmar amid COVID-19. It is about 2 months later than the normal opening of an academic year. The schools have to prepare enough to meet the necessary measures against COVID-19. Based on the success of high school opening, middle schools and the primary school will be taken accounted of opening.
Importance of induced farm.
High schools in Myanmar started the academic year of 2020-2021 on 21st of July, which is nearly 2 months later than the usual school year. Because of the outbreak of COVID-19, the reopening of schools had to be postponed, and it is to reopen the schools step by step, starting from the high schools. Measures for COVID-19 prevention have been taken in schools under the guidelines of the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health and Sports. The teachers, students, parents, and school buses have to follow the respective regulations to prevent any possible infection among students. 3,772 schools in the whole country which can meet the necessary measures are allowed to reopen. Jo Winway is the principal of Practicing School TTC Kamayo, and she talked about the preparation in her school.
Today,
555 students from grade 11 of former curriculum attend the first day of school. We have been well preparation since May, in collaboration with teachers, parents, and school associations. For the prevention of COVID-19, we make sure that the students and the teacher wear masks, wash hands, and stay 6 feet apart from each other. At our school, the total number of students is over 6,000, so that even the schools are open for the high school students, and we have also carried out preparedness measures for all classes, including KG. Parents contribute a lot towards the preparedness in our school. The classrooms have to reduce the number of students, and so more teachers are required. The schools have different solutions for accommodating fewer students in a classroom. Some renew the curriculum and some adjust the school hours. The schools are to make sure that the students feel safe while attending the school and are equipped with necessary lessons for an academic year.
We can see that the school provides us with the necessary measures against COVID-19. Once we enter the school compound, the temperature is automatically checked, and detailed preparedness is done. The separate trash bins are placed for the tissues using for coughing. For us, we have to wear masks all the time during school hours, so it can be quite uncomfortable for us. Despite that, everything is fine. The chairs are put 6 feet away from one another. Even during a break, the students cannot stay closely to each other. Our school is from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. In a day, there are 5 30-minute periods, between which we have 15-minute break. I want to urge my fellows to obey the teacher's words and make sure to practice social distancing.
Starting from high schools, then the middle schools and primary schools will be reopened after a specific time slot. The middle schools are also preparing for the official announcement for school reopening. Dr. Dalwin, principal from No. 2 Basic Education Middle School from Amyotha Township, explained how they are working at present and the challenges for the school lessons.
The middle school is not reopened yet, so we came here to observe how the high school are working for school period amid COVID-19. It can be witnessed that the school prepare enough in accordance with the health guidelines. Even though the middle school are stay closed, we are taking necessary measures for the opening. As the challenge for the school attending amid COVID-19, group works have to be done under the new curriculum. We have to handle how to perform group works while practicing social distancing.
In Myanmar, the local transmission of COVID-19 is almost under control. People are worried about finding any possible case among the schools. So the Ministry of Education releases the guidelines for teachers, students, and parents in order to prevent the virus infection, as well as request the public to participate in prevention for second wave of local transmission. People are worried because the schools are reopened. To reduce the risk of infection, under the guidelines of the Ministry of Education, the schools prepare a lot, and the participation of the teachers and parents are of utmost importance. We have taken account of any possibility of the students showing similar symptoms to the disease. The responsible teachers are to ensure to know the contents of the healthcare associations. State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi said that high standard of health and education is the basic needs for the citizens. She said that the government is putting education in the same level as health for the children not to drift away from learning. Based on the success of reopening of the high schools, the middle schools and primary schools are to be reopened.
That's a report on high school reopened amid COVID-19 outbreak. Months-long preparation for Yangon payment services for YPS bus fare come to use from 21st July, 5 days after the YPS card went on sale to the public. For now, only 12 bus lines accept this card payment system. But according to the report by the responsible persons from the YPS, it will continue to extend YPS to the other bus line in the coming months as well. Wilson will tell us the full report.
In the process of upgrading the transport system in Yangon Region Transport Authority, with the collaboration of Asia Summer Transport Intelligence, it introduced Yangon Payment Service to YPS passengers. This YPS will enable the commuters taking the bus without the need of bringing 200 notes or specific required amount of bus fare. This YPS card started to go on sale from 16th of July, and from 21st of July, 12 bus lines started to launch its payment system to the passengers. The 12 bus lines are YPS 12, 14, 25, 30, 38, 43, 62, 72, 87, 88, 89, and 96. Under the guidance of Yangon City Development Committee, on 28th of July, 4 more shops where YPS cards are available for purchase were open, apart from 102 GNG shops across Yangon where YPS card can be purchased and also top up the card. Although not many started to use this YPS from the first day it was launched, according to the report by YPS from the first day, this YPS started to go on sale from 16th of July, and a total of 9,129 cards have been sold till the launching date of YPS, most of which were sold through promotional sale, where by paying 5,000 kyats, a card worth 5,000 top-up is available for sale. However, it is also reported that on the first day of YPS launching, there were some errors while using this YPS. And speaking on this issue at the launching event of YPS, Ma Yikin, Chief Marketing Officer of YPS, said,
When there is an error while using YPS, there are certain ways how it can happen, but there is no technical error. Sometimes the error can happen if the cat is not tossed at the right direction where it should be, so the wrong direction or the misplacing the cat can also cause an error. And sometimes the error can also be caused by swiping too fast at the bus validators, so a passenger must make sure that he must not swipe too fast, but give sometimes around 2 to 3 seconds. We have been watching the whole process from this morning, but we don't find any big issue. Everything is running normally.
The report by YPS also stated that by the end of this month, there will be extension of YPS to other bus lines as well in the coming months. Umamong Singh is the terminal officer in charge for YPS 30 at the Kemya Park, and he also spoke to MI Radio about the situation of YPS on the first day, and he said,
အများဆုံးစီးတဲ့ကားကတော့၄ဦးစီတက်ပါတယ်၄ဦးက2စီး3ဦးက
What we have learned today on the first day of YPS, the maximum number of passengers who used YPS in a route is 4 and the minimum number is 2. But we have some issues on it. Out of 14 bus drivers, 2 of them report error on this YPS from the passenger. This is the first time we are running this card system, and we cannot expect it to be perfect on the first day. There will be error and mistakes for sure, and it will be solved slowly. However, the things that made me worry are we have so many commuters in Yangon. Sometimes around 10 passengers get into the bus at one bus stop, so it may become an issue with this YPS. But apart from this, introducing YPS is a huge step from the government in upgrading the transport system.
We Finnish driver who has been driving bus for years also spoke to MI Radio and said,
The introduction of this YPS card is a bit of concern for YPS driver like us because when a passenger makes a payment with this YPS, it takes around 3 seconds. So the driver have to wait till all the payments are done, and it goes the same for both getting on the bus and getting off the bus because the payment has to be done twice at both of cat validator. This morning I had 4 passengers who used YPS, but if this YPS is successful, it is also better for all this shareholder as they can get all bus fare exactly. The problem with cash payment is sometimes the passenger would put into the damage or turn out, which is a loss for the companies.
This is Williamson for MI Radio.
That's the report on YPS comes into effect from 21st July. And that's all we have for today's report, and it's time to check on some international news here on Myanmar Today. China again disapproved the statements of concerning the South China Sea released by the U.S. Department of the State last week, noting that the U.S. undermines stable situation in South China Sea. Liao pointed out that to contain China and promote its Indo-Pacific strategy, the U.S. has attempted to deny China's territorial dominion and maritime rights and interest in the South China Sea. On the other hand, has purposely sent a powerful military force to the relevant waters for large-scale exercises, saying these actions can only further complicate Sino-U.S. relations and turn the situation in the South China Sea into the tense situation. Liao stressed that the U.S. side should take their full responsibility. He accused the U.S. of adopting a double standard, which refused to ratify the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, but attacking the China under UNCLO as pretext. On this particular gloomy summer day, thousands of service industry workers, fast food chain owners, nurses, doormen, cleaners, delivery men and women walk off their jobs to protest systematic racism and economic inequality, staging demonstrations across the U.S. seeking better treatment of Black Americans in the workplace. 20,000 workers in 160 cities participated in the strike in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, which has gained fresh momentum following the May death of the African-American George Floyd. In this unprecedented period with millions of sickened and more than 140,000 dead from the COVID-19 in the U.S., voices fighting systematic racism are demanding to be heard, even as the virus endangers people's life. China reiterated on Tuesday that Article 38 of the newly enacted national security legislation for the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region (HKSAR) aimed to safeguard the national security and combat crime that endanger national security. The spokesperson for the China Foreign Ministry made their remarks during the daily press conference on Tuesday, disproving accusation by some Western countries that China undertaking, quote, law and jurisdiction. Quote, Article 38 of the Law of the People's Republic of China on Safeguarding National Security in the HKSAR stipulates that the laws shall apply the offenses under this law committed against the HKSAR from outside the region by the person who is not permanent resident of the region. According to the spokesperson for China's Foreign Ministry, Article 38 follows the principle of protective authority, which has been a common practice in the common law systems in many countries, including the United States. Hydropower is a crucial source of the renewable energy and has been regarded as an effective way to cope with the global climate change. By constructing and operating river dams can impact biodiversity. The Lanchan-Mekong River Basin is home to the variety of species, including many endangered plants and animals. This third part of our series takes you to the Cascade Dams along the Lanchan River.
At this fish hatchery, workers are carefully tending to a local species, the helicopter catfish. They are artificially hatched from the eggs of the wild parent fish, which are caught from the Lancang River.
It's difficult to grow a helicopter catfish as they're predatory and would attack each other. Usually the survival rate is quite low and it requires expertise to grow them.
Here at Nojadu hydropower plant, the fish hatching program involves 6 rare species found in the Lancang River. And each year, they release tens of thousands of newly hatched ones to natural water.
The construction of hydropower plants often creates controversies over their ecological impact. Before the Cascade dams were built along the Lancang River, engineers paid special attention to preserving the local biodiversity. Among the various solutions, they helped relocate endangered plant and animal species to safer areas.
Dr. Ren Wenwei has been following the dynamics of biodiversity along the Lancang-Mekong River Basin, which he says is one of the 36 global hotspots for biological protection.
Hydropower is indeed a type of new energy, unlike fossil fuels, but it causes great damage to the ecosystem, especially the aquatic ecosystem. It'll change the water temperature, flow rate, and water level, which will greatly impact fish. I hope that in the future, people will take ecological factors into consideration during the planning, building, and operation of dams. In this way, people can not only promote social and economic development, meet irrigation and power generation demands, but also minimize potential impacts on the ecosystem.
There are 18 different rare plants, including wild rice and 2 types of cycads, relocated from the construction site of the dam. Nearby is a wild animal rescue center with 20 types of wildlife, like slow lories, black bear, and Indian bison. Some of them are injured and receive treatment. Over the past decade, the center has released scores of animals back into the wild.
As a state company, our protection work adheres to the regulations set by the national authorities. We have tried our best to strike a balance between hydropower development and biodiversity protection. The construction of our power plant is subject to environmental assessments. What we are doing now with fish, plants, and animals is aimed at minimizing the dam's impact on the species.
It remains a challenge for experts here to breed more wild fish species, but as a key part of the dam's mitigation efforts to enhance biodiversity, they are determined to carry on. Meng Qingsheng, CGTN, Yunnan Province.
And that's all we have for today. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I'm your intern, Anchor Michelle. Have a good day. Until next time.